this song is written from the perspective of somebody who has been taken away and is prohibited by geography from going to the temple to worship. So we don't have time to go into it. It doesn't matter anyway. He's apart from God. In his day and age, God was in the temple. He's alienated, estranged from God. And he says this, he says, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. Now, to the Jewish man in the first century, this is it, man. If you ever been in Judea in the wilderness in the desert and saw one of those skinny deer out there panting like in the heat, looking for some water, you know what I'm talking about. A little water would come out of a rock or something. You'd have to go looking for it. There are no rivers or streams or, Tuckasegee River. Forget all that. There's nothing. And this deer's out there looking for it. He says, oh God, he says, my soul, my mind, my will, my emotions, I'm really in rough shape. I'm so apart from you. I'm desolate. So my soul pants for you, my God. He says, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. Where can I go and meet with God? He doesn't have the temple. He doesn't have the religion. He doesn't have the priest. He doesn't have the sacrifice. Forget all that. He's just him. And it's funny. He says, if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us of all sin. 1 John 1:7. The coolest thing about walking with God and being in a relationship with God is that it's fulfilling and that it's got teeth. But as great as that is, and as twisted as this is going to sound, the second greatest thing to walking in the light is to be unhappy till we have it. Let me put it another way. Don't underestimate, and this is how you leverage depression. This is how you get something good out of it. It is a good thing, it's a very good thing, to be unhappy because you don't have God. Okay? It is an incredibly good thing to be depressed for an absence of intimate fellowship with God. That is a good thing. It is a bad thing to be depressed and not know you need God. You see what I'm saying? The depths of darkness for a believer to feel estranged from the intimacy of God is an incredibly good thing. Because we know the fix, we know the answer. If you don't know the answer, oh my gosh, I don't know what you're going to do. Well, you're going to get drunk or something, I don't know. But think about your kids, think about you. You've gone through this period of depression. It's situational, it's atypical, it's major, it's seasonal affect, whatever it is. You know your answer is that whisper, and you know your answer is that voice, you know your answer is praise, and you know your answer is action. And that is the only reason you would be dying for that. The only reason you would be panting for that water is because you've had it before. And you know how satisfying it is. Out of you will flow rivers of living water. The really cool thing about depression is that you really, really, really get amped up in longing for God once you start the process. If you never start the process and wait for God to give you that, you wallow in the cave. But when you step out, because I understand what I need, I know what I need, and I'm so thirsty for God. I wish I had a congregation like that every Sunday. So desperately, desolate, thirsty for God that nothing else matters. Well, then that was a good depression. I could take some of that. The apathy. The apathy is the thing that is the greatest killer of the church. Seth, you want to come get ready for this last song? Apathy is the killer. To not care, to whatever, mediocre, to go through the motions, to go through religious, lifeless, non-relational, boring religion is that's worse than depression. No, depression that takes the human soul and says, Desolate I will be without the divine. I'll be desolate. I'll be useless without him. Man, I could go for that. If that's depression, I'll take some. Because I want to be, don't you? I want to be in that position where I'm not going to be satisfied with anything but the fullness of his presence. Man, you take 400 people on a Sunday morning and you get them all cranked up about that one thing, somebody better stink and get out of the way. That's what it's about. Now, having said all of that, if Jesus was depressed, and Jeremiah was depressed, and Elijah was depressed, and Israel was depressed, and Abraham was depressed, and David was depressed, what happened to every one of those people? As if to say God allowed that depression for one reason. That deliverance from the depression, just like the Israelites hemmed in by the mountains and the Red Sea and the chariots, 600 chariots of the Egyptians. For one reason and one reason only, God got the glory for the deliverance. If that's what it takes, he will allow and bring about any and every circumstance in our life that brings us at times to that place of parched, arid, thirsty souls, like deer in the desert. If that's what it takes for the rich, fulfilling, satisfying, living water of which he told this woman at the Samaritan well, then so be it. Now it's not a stigma anymore. Now it's not a mental health issue anymore. Now it's the heart cry of a believer to be in union with the Spirit of the living God. And they're not less for it. They're actually more for it. They're full. So I want you to think about that. Be aware what depression is. Be aware of its different forms. Be aware of its duration. Be aware of those around you who are dealing with it. Beware of the physiology. Beware of all of that. Don't worship it. But in it, worship the Lord. And it will have been useful. Whether you've been traumatized, hurt, abused, or anything else, as was Jesus. So whatever your malady is, or whatever you long for that you haven't yet got, the question remains, do you long for Christ more?